Hi Whovians, Harry here, and welcome to my breakdown of Doctor Who Redacted Series 2, Episode 3, Underground. And this episode had so many hidden details to past Doctor Who episodes and episodes of Torchwood. It was just amazing, and I can't wait to get into this breakdown. So without any further ado, before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe, also leave a like and comment down below, and let's get into the episode. So this episode opens the same way the previous one ended, with a drone attacking Apex and Cleo. So, this episode obviously gets off to an exciting start as it opens with the way that the last episode ended, which I did a breakdown of that episode Apex, so check that out if you haven't already. And Apex is obviously trying to stop the drone. However, this drone has a predictive algorithm, meaning that it can counter all of Apex's moves, which it does. However, the person who programmed this drone didn't have it predict what Cleo could do, because they didn't know Cleo would be with Apex. So Cleo manages to defeat it by hitting it with a frying pan. Yes, that is really how she defeats that drone. And that is just because it could only predict Apex's moves with its predictive algorithm, but not hers. And this means that the person who sent the drone, which we find out is Lady Honor Bray, is only after Apex. Again, because it wasn't able to predict what Cleo was going to do with it. However, it could predict Apex, so even though Apex was doing some insane moves that Cleo could not think of, it could predict all of his moves, but Cleo was able to easily defeat it, because again, it couldn't predict her. However, even though the drone is dealt with, Apex has been dosed with 400,000 rads of radiation, and that is due to the shot from the drone at the end of the last episode, Apex, where it shot him, incapacitating him. And that shot also dosed him with 400,000 rads of radiation. And this dosage is actually similar to the radiation that made the 10th Doctor regenerate, except the 10th Doctor was dosed with a slightly higher 500,000 rads of radiation, which made the 10th Doctor regenerate. However, 400,000 rads is still a big deal. So for Apex to hang on for, he says that he can go at least a couple of days before dying, then Apex's species, can deal with a lot of things, which makes him almost as powerful as a Time Lord if he can travel through space and also can deal with a high dosage of radiation that would probably kill a human immediately. However, luckily for Apex, he says he knows a place that can heal him, which we find out is called the London Underground, which of course gives this episode its title. And of course, we already have a London Underground, which Cleo actually brings up to Apex. However, this is like a London underground, a bit like how the 10th Doctor, when he took Rose to the city of New York, and also Martha to the city of New York, he said it was New York, like this is the London underground. I just think that's a cool thing. And Apex says that there is a doctor there that can help him. And of course, this is a nod to the fact that Apex and Cleo are looking for the Doctor. However, the person that could save Apex in this episode is just a Doctor, not the Doctor. So they get to the London Underground, where they are outside like this wall, and Apex says that it's a harmonic lock and that they need to sing to open it, and he says that he's too weak due to the radiation dosage, so he wants Cleo to sing to open the lock to the London Underground. And let's just say there was earlier mentions in actually Episode 1 of Doctor Who Redacted Series 2, Regrets, which I did a breakdown of, so check that out if you haven't already. And Cleo said that unless Caitlin the Musical is coming out, she won't have an acting career, but no offence to Cleo, but even if Caitlin the Musical does come out, I don't think she should audition for that. Let's just put it that way. However, Apex reveals that this was just a practical joke and that it isn't a harmonic lock, and that the lock actually recognises his signature, so he can just gain access straight away. So they get to the London Underground, where they take a corridor to float down to the Underground. And this floating platform could be similar to the platform that the 10th Doctor flew down in the episode Forest of the Dead to save River Song. And also, Apex explains that the London Underground is a safe haven for all alien species, like the refugee camps in Face the Raven. Face the Raven was a similar premise to this episode, where there was kind of an underground where all alien species went away to escape from, well, to live a life escaping from war and refuge that they had on their own planets, and they are living on Earth in like a refugee camp, and it is similar also in this London Underground. And Apex states that he's helped people get here. Keep that in mind because it will become important later. So Apex meets up with a friend of his, which is an alien named Room. And we find out not only that Room is the one that dealt with the giant rats that, Apex left on the barge in episode 1 Regrets, and he said that someone he knew would come along and deal with them. Then their waste, Room's waste, was the thing that mutated the rats into giant ones in the first place. So this Room has been, slowly their stuff has, drifted into the real world where the humans are. And we don't know what Room did with the giant rats. However, there is, when they go past some stalls, Apex says to Cleo that she probably shouldn't try any food as it might be rat meat. So maybe the rats did die. Serves them right for killing that dog in episode 1. But Room could have killed those rats and sold them to vendors for them to sell as meat, which is slightly morbid. So upon meeting Room, Apex says that he has another favour to ask of her, and offers her a valuable ring in exchange for, a favour, which is, of course, he needs healing from the radiation. And a similar interaction happened with the moped saleswoman in the Rings of Akaten, where things that contained sentimental value were used as currency instead of money. And a similar thing is happening here. However, it's just a random valuable. It doesn't have any sentimental value, but it's valuable, of course, in other ways. So they use that as a currency instead of money. And upon hearing what happened to Apex, Room mentions that Honor Bray is the new landlord of the London Underground. So this could possibly be the worst place that Apex and Cleo turned up at, because if Honor is the one that sent the drone after Apex, maybe wanting to kill him, enough so that this radiation he's being dosed with will kill him, she could just kill him since he has basically gone to her place. So Apex isn't doing the smartest thing at all. It's actually pretty dumb. However, through clarification from Room, it seems like Honor is a pretty despicable person if it wasn't obvious from her dosing Apex with radiation that could kill him. Because Room mentions that she is the new landlord of the London Underground, going on to say that rent is rising, and if tenants don't pay, Honor uses her drones to kick them out. And, we've seen these drones in action. They are the ones that have dosed Apex with radiation to potentially kill him. So she's not just maybe kicking them out, she is killing them, which is just terrible. And this situation is a bit weird though, because I know it's despicable, as I've just said, But Apex said that these aliens are refugees and that he helped people get here to escape war and famine and disease and terrible things. But if they're being potentially killed when they can't pay the rent, I mean, that's almost just as bad, because they could be faced with death if they stay at their old planet, or they could face death if they don't pay. So that's just a bit weird. Keep that in mind. And even worse is that Room says that she cannot help Apex, meaning that they have to venture further into the London Underground. And again, this is Honor's domain, so that is just bad. However, Apex and Cleo do venture further underground because Apex kind of has no choice and Cleo doesn't want to leave him. So they venture further underground and they find aliens hiding, scared of Apex and Cleo. And this is because, of course, they are on the worst level. The further you go underground, the worse it gets. So the aliens on the higher levels, like Room, are living an okay life, but the ones underground are not living a good life. However, Apex leaves the valuable ring with these aliens that, of course, he couldn't give to Room because Room couldn't help him, saying that he wants to do something good by leaving these aliens with something valuable. However, supposedly, again, Apex helped all the aliens in the London Underground escape war and refuge. So it's a bit weird. However, that is the main adventure of Apex and Cleo in this episode. So with Abby and Shawna, we find out that they are tracking down the alien that was inside Archie from the last episode, and we learn that they have tracked it down to a library, and this is basically they are finding out what the alien is and also what Torchwood is in this episode. So, of course, as I said, Abby and Shawna track down the alien to a library. However, they wonder how they are going to deal with it, and Shawna asks Abby if they can get in contact with UNIT. Of course, UNIT appeared in Series 1 of Doctor Who Redacted, and that's how Shawna knows about them. And, of course, Abby is fascinated with the blue box, so of course she's heard about UNIT even before Shawna. However, Abby shoots it down, saying there's no hotline to UNIT, even though the 10th Doctor was able to phone UNIT in Planet of the Dead to find out if they could help him when he comes through, help deal with the aliens, and the 13th Doctor in Resolution was phoning what they thought was UNIT. However, it turned out to be connected to a different number because UNIT was disbanded back in 2019. However, UNIT is back up and running, as we can see from the 60th anniversary trailers. However, it's kind of weird because maybe it's just because it's the Doctor and they have worked for UNIT before, they know the number to UNIT, but there almost kind of is a UNIT hotline which Abby and Shawna don't know about. And as Abby and Shawna approach the library, they see that it is surrounded by police tape. However, no police can be seen, and the door to the library is open. And despite all these things that they should not go inside, Abby and Shawna enter the library. And Abby says, "Whatever you do, don't let go of my hand," to which Shawna replies, "Never," of course referencing their relationship which began in Series 1 of Doctor Who Redacted in the final episode of that series, Salvation, which I did a breakdown of, so check that out if you haven't already. And quickly, Shawna notices a PA system, and keep that in mind because it will become important later. And with no police being seen inside the library, Shawna wants to leave. However, Abby thinks they should stay and help the alien as it could be injured, and Shawna asks Abby if she's always been this put together, and keep that in mind because it will become important later. However, suddenly the lights turn off one row at a time, and this is similar to when the Vashta Narada turned off the lights in the episode Silence in the Library, of course making the Doctor and Donna run, and this causes Shawna and Abby to be like, yeah, they should leave the library. However, unfortunately, they can't, because the alien that was inside Archie from last episode, it has turned up at the library, and now it is between them and the door. So now it is impossible for them to leave. And again, things go from bad to worse, because Abby and Shawna get split up. And this is bad because, well, we'll get to this later with the alien's abilities, because something weird happens. We hear Cleo calling out to Abby, and this is weird because last scene was Cleo in the London Underground with Apex. So how can she be in a library in Glasgow when she's in London and has no idea that Shawna and Abby would be at this Torchwood library? So something weird is going on, and Shawna actually confirms it for us that isn't Cleo when she phones Abby up, and she can hear Cleo on the other end, and she tells her that Cleo isn't their Cleo, which means that the alien can either shapeshift or mimic voices, as well as accessing other people's memories. So this is potentially one of the most powerful aliens ever in the Doctor Who universe, which does raise a couple of questions why the Doctor hasn't encountered it before. But if it can shapeshift as well as access other people's memories, it is really bad. This is on the level of Zygons, because they can access other people's memories as well as shapeshift into them. So this is a alien on the level of a Zygon. And remember, last time we saw the Zygons, they almost caused a all-out war with the human race. But moving past that, suddenly we hear that Shawna has appeared next to Abby, even though Shawna is on the phone to Abby, and the Shawna on the phone to Abby is by the reception. So, Abby is put in an impossible position. Which Shawna is her love? Which one is the real one? So, the Shawna by Abby talks to Abby about how great their relationship is, whilst the Shawna on the phone tells her that their relationship isn't perfect, but she loves it and she loves Abby. And this could be a reference to how Clara knew the difference between the 11th Doctor and Mr. Clever in the episode Nightmare in Silver, where Mr. Clever was telling Clara how beautiful and pretty she was, and the Doctor was, well, more blasé about it, just like, no, I think you're a bit, your face is a bit weird, like, I don't know what he says exactly, but, Clara knows the difference between the Doctor, that the Doctor would never tell her that she was great and pretty and amazing and all that, with just out of the blue. So she knows the difference between the Doctor and Mr. Clever, and Abby will have to make a similar choice. Does she choose the person that is going on about how amazing their relationship is, or does she go with the person that tells her the hard truth? And we get our answer as Abby realises that the Shawna on the phone is the real Shawna. However, the alien unfortunately finds Abby, and then we get a horrific voice because it switches from the Shawna voice to a mix of Shawna and Cleo's voices, as well as a monstrous voice breaking through. So Abby is in real danger. However, fortunately, she manages to elude the alien in time to find Shawna. However, the alien quickly catches back up with Abby, and of course, she's now with Shawna, so, the alien knows where Shawna and Abby are. However, Abby and Shawna don't realise that the alien is with them at first. It is only until Shawna says to Abby that Abby doesn't need to hold her hand that tight, which makes Abby reveal that she's not holding Shawna's hand, which is the same interaction that Clara had with the 11th Doctor in Hyde. However, even worse than the interaction between Clara and the 11th Doctor in Hyde when an alien is holding Clara's hand, this alien now has Shawna. And it is dragging her off, and oh, it's insane. But suddenly, Abby remembers how the alien was infected by the fire alarm at the hospital in the previous episode. So with her quick thinking, she deduces that sound hurts the alien. So she turns the PA system all the way up, which causes the alien to explode. Remember, Shawna was the one who pointed out the PA system at the start of this episode when they were entering the library, and Abby remembers this, which causes the alien to explode with her saving Shawna. And this explosion scene is just like how the Blaverine exploded when they were exposed to high frequencies after ingesting rackweed in the Sarah Jane Adventures spin-off, the episode The Gift. And Shawna actually says that the alien was either going to eat them or wear their bodies. And this is actually what the Slovene do to humans. They wear human bodies, and the Blaverine are related to the Slovene. So, just cool parallels there between not only Zygons, but also the Slovene and Blaverine. So this alien is immensely powerful. So it was just, well, kind of lucky, but also incredibly quick thinking from Abby to defeat this alien. And Abby and Shawna find out that the library is actually another Torchwood 2 base after finding a vault that, enters into like a more Torchwood-like base. And remember how I mentioned earlier that Shawna said that Abby was so put together? Well, earlier, Shawna asked Abby to tell her the worst thing she did, and Abby reveals that she was actually at a party that got out of control so much that the police got called and they had to escort her back to her mum's home. And this is when the story diverges from what Abby told her originally, and reveals that the story ends with Abby shouting at her mum that she can't be a normal kid because she has to look after her all the time, which causes her mum to burst into tears. And she didn't want to tell Shawna the truth because she liked who she was with Shawna and how Shawna perceived her, which was kind of perfect and put together. And Abby knows that even though she tries to act like, well, herself and her relationship with Shawna is perfect, she knows it's not. And this is actually a reference to the Doctor, because the reveal of Abby's end story parallels the 10th Doctor revealing that he's not just a Time Lord, he's the last of the Time Lords to Martha. And he didn't tell her because with her, he could imagine that the Time Lords were still alive, and he liked who he was with Martha. And this is the same thing with Abby. But moving past that, we find that Abby and Shawna find Torchwood 2's library base, and in their base behind the vault are cages, and they theorise that this is probably where the alien that they just dealt with came from. And whoever ransacked Torchwood 2's sound studio, remember from the previous episode, is probably the one who released the alien from this Torchwood base. So they knew they were releasing a bad alien that could wreak havoc. But one mystery is still, well, two mysteries. Who released this alien? And why did the alien come back to the Torchwood base after escaping it? It's just so weird. However, we are not going to get answers in this episode because this episode closes back with Apex and Cleo. So back with Apex and Cleo, they come across what they think is a TARDIS. And that is amazing because, well, it must mean that the Doctor is there. So Cleo thinks that the 13th Doctor has turned up here because, of course, the Doctor is a saviour of species. However, it wouldn't be the 13th Doctor, because unknown to Cleo, the 13th Doctor regenerated in the power of the Doctor to the 14th Doctor. However, as I said, Cleo wouldn't know about this. And also, we know from the comic strip Liberation of the Daleks that the 14th Doctor hasn't done something like this, hasn't been bringing refugees here. So, as Apex reveals, it is a trap, as it is not a TARDIS, but a hologram, and the trap is for them, because Honor Bray reveals herself as somehow she knows that they're both looking for the Doctor, and she turns up, which is, of course, extremely bad for Apex and Cleo. However, it might be worse for Cleo, because Honor turns up and she drops the bombshell that Apex has been lying to her. And she rhetorically asks her, "What did Apex say to you? Did he tell you he was a Time Lord?" Of course, being the Doctor's species. Did he tell you he was a time agent? Which is actually what Captain Jack Harkness was. He was signed up for the Time Agency, which was mentioned many times in Torchwood and also Doctor Who. Or is he an ICBA, which is of course what Apex said he was to Cleo, and Honor implies that this is Apex's favourite cover story. So, Apex has been lying to Cleo if we are to believe Honor, and that is just insanely bad for Cleo, because she is stuck between two terrible people then. Honor, who could just kill her, and Apex that has been lying and manipulating her. And this episode ends with another bombshell that is that Honor says that Apex promised to steal her a TARDIS, explaining why Apex was so keen to find the Doctor. Oh, and that is just insane. We got so many more reveals on Apex. Again, another great cliffhanger. Some more reveals on Torchwood. The growth between Abby and Shawna's relationship. It's just amazing. But that is just my thoughts of this episode. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of this episode. And also, if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like. Also subscribe and share it out. And I will see you in the next one.